What's up, fellow drone launchers? David Young here, founder of Drone Launch Academy, coming at you with another episode of the Drone to 1K podcast. We are in season 3, episode 5, I believe. And today's guest is Alex Castillo of LA Aerial Image. And that may sound familiar to you if you've listened to all of the Drone to 1K podcast episodes, because Alex was actually on our original season, and he is the first return guest to the podcast. So very excited to get some updates from Alex, hear what he's been up to, hear how his business has changed since he first got started. So it was great catching up with Alex. He's done a lot of really cool stuff, from 3D modeling for construction sites, all the way to flying drones for music videos for My Chemical Romance, and just a bunch of cool stuff in between. So he does a lot of cinematography, but also is in construction as well and doing things there. So really fun episode. Excited for you to listen to it and get some good nuggets out of it. There's a lot to learn from Alex, and I've enjoyed getting to know him better and following him too on Instagram. He's got a great Instagram handle and profile. A few things before we get started. Like always, if you're enjoying this podcast and what we're doing here and the interviews, please go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Screenshot it, send it to me via email, david@dronelaunchacademy.com, and I will send you a t-shirt to say thanks for leaving that review. I've been getting some good feedback. Several of you all have emailed me, even with recommendations on, hey, here's a couple things I think that could make the show even better. And then a couple or several, just constructive, hey, this is great, love what you're doing, here's my review. So if you do that, send you a shirt to say thanks for taking the time to do that. Leave an honest review, not trying to manipulate you into leaving a good review. Leave any review at all, and I'll shoot you a shirt to say thanks. What else? Oh yes, we have, we're doing the 5 winner pick thing. So if you haven't watched one of these episodes yet, what we do is we will post a link below this video if you're watching on YouTube, or if you are listening, the email that you got telling you about this podcast episode, there will be a link in there to a 1-question quiz, and I'll just ask you a question about the episode to see if you actually listened to it or not. 1 question, you answer that question right, then you can choose from some prizes to be entered for. So we give away a coaching call, a 15-minute Q&A coaching call with the podcast guest, a t-shirt, a mug, a free course, and a hat. So you can kind of rank those in what order you want. And then every week we pick the winners. So the day before the podcast comes live, we pick the winners, and then for the previous week, and then we'll announce those in the email. If you're not on our email list and you want to get this little quiz link, just go to dronelaunchacademy.com, wait like 3 seconds, and a little pop-up will appear at the very top, and you can put your name and email in there. It doesn't cover the whole screen, but it'll show up at the top where you can put that in. So get in on that. We've already done a Q&A coaching call with someone who went really well. That's really cool. So we're actually going to release those as little bonus episodes for in between seasons. So in between seasons 3 and 4, we'll release some of those Q&A calls with the podcast guests. So I think those are helpful for people that are starting drone businesses and kind of wondering, if you have questions for the podcast guest to dig in a little deeper. Other people probably have those same questions, and maybe those will get asked, and you can listen to what they say about that. So fun to do that and hear these guests' feedback for these folks' businesses. All right, I believe that's it. We have some courses too, if you're ever interested in that. I think you can go to dronelaunchacademy.com/D1K discount. We have some deals there for podcast listeners. But hope you enjoy the show, and we'll get to it with Alex Castillo from LA Aerial Image. All right, so thanks for tuning into the podcast. I have with me here Alex, is it Castillo? Is that how you say your last name?
Yeah, that sounds
Cool.
good.
LA Aerial Image actually was our very first podcast guest on Drone to 1K when we started this, a year and a half ago. Or actually probably more than that. The first episode came out about a year and a half ago, but we talked probably, 2 years ago almost now. So it's good to have you back on, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great.
Yeah, man. So I wanted to get you back on here because I wanted to get an update. Last time, you and I have talked just little bits on Instagram here and there, but we haven't actually had a full-on conversation. So I thought it'd be good to have you back on, talk about how things have been going, what you've been up to, things maybe you've learned between now and then. But I see awesome stuff on your Instagram. It looks like you're still in the game, still really active. So maybe start with a real quick intro of yourself and your background, just in case someone has not heard your original season 1, episode 2.
So I was an original RC plane flyer, back in the days, and that was my thing, my fun thing to do as a kid. And then when I was older, I was able to afford this stuff, so that made it easier to get to the airfield and fly.
Yeah.
And I was there at the airfield one day, and I saw some guy with a quadcopter, and it was the first time I ever seen one, and I was like, wow, what is that? I need to have one of those. And he's like, oh, I built it. And so there I was building quadcopters back in when there were DJI, what are they, flame wheels, and the NASA, flight controller, and so that was the beginning of it for me. And then years later, I decided that I didn't just want it to be a hobby, that I wanted to make it a full-time business and jump into it. So I took all my photography background from as a hobbyist, and then just got into video and just started, doing video with drones. And now I do it all. I do I do a lot of social media commercials, and I don't just do drone. I've done a lot of commercials with doing the drone, like the higher budget ones and stuff like that. I just do a whole array of different things. I mean, we jumped into 3D modeling for construction sites, the film stuff. I mean, just whatever I can get my hands
A
on.
bunch of different stuff.
I kind of get in there, yeah. So
Nice.
So at the beginning of this year, of course, as everybody knows, it just died as soon as the pandemic hit and the country shut down. Like, it just went dead. Like, I had nothing. I mean, no work at all, and I'm assuming that's the same for everybody in the industry and many different industries. I mean, it was just dead. I mean, there was no work, and I'm fortunate that I still have my day job.
Yeah.
Because I've been holding on to that so I can. I'm trying to get out of it, but I kept on to it. So I was fortunate that I wasn't hurting because of that. But I mean, it literally was like 6 months of nothing, zero. And then I want to say, what are we in, August right now?
Or September.
September. So I want to say in like July, it just started, like, I started getting phone calls, man. It just started
picking up again.
Yeah, it was like almost instant. I was busy to where I was like, I couldn't keep up. I was just so busy. I even brought in, I had one day where I had like 5 jobs, and I brought in another pilot to assist me, and
yeah,
it was just, I mean, we've been busy. So,
man. So, do you think it was just, well, obviously a lot of because you're in California, so a lot of the kind of production stuff was put on hold, and,
yeah.
But so do you think that just kind of like pent up demand from that time where everybody stopped, everybody's trying to like catch up, or what?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I have Google ads, and I think it just kind of like at once, like the built up stuff came in, and then extra stuff came in, and it just like,
yeah.
So even the construction stuff, I got a little busy there. And then just with, we had a few graduations where they did the drive-through graduations, and
okay.
had the drone up,
Cool.
And shooting photos. So it was kind of like people were figuring out a way to get by with this pandemic, so they were using the drone in some senses, So
yeah, cool. Now, do you do much? Do you do any real estate stuff with your drone, or are you just more like normal video production?
No, I stay away from the real estate stuff. From the last podcast, I had a lot of people come and talk to me, and I tell them, sure, go start with real estate. That's the best place to start, I think, because you get in there. It's easy to get in. Everybody knows a realtor, and you can get jobs fairly easy, but you can't stay in that industry. I mean, it's just not, for me, it's just not fun. Like, going into a house every day and shooting, and of course you got to be prepared to shoot interior as well, and
right.
Photos and video. I mean, it's just, and unless you're getting called for $1 million homes, like, it's just not worth it for me.
Yeah. Well, especially now that you got, that sounds like you got more people than you can handle anyways, right? So take the higher paying jobs that are more fun.
I picked it up a couple of years ago, but it was an Amazon Prime show. It's called The Bay, and now they're on a network called the Pop Star Network.
Okay.
And I've been shooting with them for 3 seasons now, and that's an awesome thing to do.
That's really cool.
On productions, man, it's just great. I love it. It's fun.
Nice. I remember you mentioned that last time you were on the podcast that you were on flying for an Amazon show. I think that was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And then I did a music video for oh man, I don't get the other name now. um, Anyways, I did a music video that was a big production.
Cool.
But it's been good. I mean, it's been good. So
cool. Well, I'm curious, I want to dive into some more specifics since we kind of got your whole backstory, because normally these podcasts are a lot of people's backstory and how they got to where they were. But, you went through a lot of that on the last podcast and talked about what it was like working full time and still having this. So I want to dive in a little bit, maybe into some specifics about, I've heard a lot of people lately say, I really want to get into construction. I want to do construction, all this stuff. So maybe let's talk about that. How did you, how did you land like your first construction client, and what did they want, if you can remember?
Yeah. My first construction, I was brought in from another guy. I was kind of like subcontracted out from another guy. And,
okay.
And he had me go in and we did progress shots, and we did some 3D modeling of the sites. And it was just basically 3D modeling for the sites that, so the engineers can, have a better look on what they're doing and where they're at, what kind of room they have and that kind of thing. I've done 3D modeling for for rock quarries too, so they can judge their materials and measure them and that kind of thing. There's a lot of different ways they can use the drone. I mean, progression shots for their sites. The 3D modeling, I guess they're using them for this, the measurements of the materials, and this is
a bunch of different stuff. Yeah. So for your first one, I guess, was that a friend you knew, or like a buddy of yours that just brought you in, or how did you have that relationship?
He found me through Google, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was up in Oregon, and he needed.
Was it another drone guy or somebody else?
He's another drone guy. He needed a pilot down here because he was getting business in LA, and he was flying back and forth, but he needed someone to contract to do the work for him, because it wasn't working out with him flying back and forth. But so
gotcha.
I've been working with him. I still work with him.
That's cool.
Yeah, we get new sites here and there, but the 3D modeling, I think, is just the biggest part of it. I mean, that's lucrative, because it's, in the end, like, you save these guys money. You're saving the money where they may not have to come out to saving money and time, I guess. They can take measurements off of things. And when you're using GPCs, and the thing is, with the construction sites, they have surveyors on site.
Yep.
So they lay those GPCs on themselves and give us the coordinates, and then everything's measures up to like millimeters. I mean,
yeah. Well, and just real quick for people who are, because sometimes we got a lot of newbies listening to this, GPCs. You want to just explain what that is for them?
They're just
the ground control points.
Yeah, the points where they're what is it? Lots of words, but the GPS points, and basically give it a real position and real time, so that they take those points, and then with your drone photos, you're able to match them up, and then they can overlay that stuff over like CAD and.
Right. So they know like the exact position of like, it helps kind of calibrate the drone photos so that you can get like really, really exact measurements and reference points, because you're kind of ending up taking a lot of different photos and putting them together, right, in the end. So it kind of helps make sure that it knows exactly how to line everything up. So
exactly. Yeah. So cool. And it takes those points, and it takes your photo and matches up to those points, and everything's just exact measurements. And Now,
do you know, for that job or for subsequent jobs that you've done, one thing people have been asking me, as we've gone through the podcast, they're like, I really want to, like I said, they're really interested in industries like construction, but they're like, I just feel like I don't know kind of the lingo, or I don't even know how to, they don't feel confident in like selling it to them, right? Because they're not super sure on the specifics of how it can help, them. They're like, how do I give a sales pitch when I don't even know what the sales pitch is? You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like people don't know, they don't feel like they have the concrete examples of, hey, listen, if you let me come in here and do a 3D map for you, here's how this can benefit you. Like if you're going to go and you kind of do a sales pitch to a engineering firm or construction or contractor, kind of what would be your sales pitch for the 3D models? Or do you not have to ever give the sales pitches?
I don't do the sales pitches right now. This guy's doing them.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't. Let's see. I mean, you have to get in there and actually learn what it can be. It's hard because I learned a lot of lingo being on site because
sure.
when I first went in, I didn't know anything either, and I'm feeling and just talking to the supervisors and all the other guys on site, like you learn what the lingo is and basically, I mean, you're just, it's hard to say. I mean, like, I'm not a salesperson myself.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I just didn't know if you had like a normal pitch where you're just like, hey, you should use it because of this, I mean, so what's your typical, go ahead.
For the most part, it's just, it's saving time and money. I mean, like if you can take a construction company and find a way to help them save time and money, I mean, that's the way they're going to be sold because one, those guys are busy as hell. Any of those guys that are like superintendents and are up there in construction and they're running around, they don't have time to go on site. I mean, although that's their job to be on site, but they're also in meetings. They're also running around to other sites. I mean, they're so busy. It's hard to get those guys to stop for a second to talk. And if you can send them some as-built, which is one of the terms, an as-built, which is a PDF, and it shows all the information on there. If you can show him that, and he don't have to go to that site because he has an information on a deliverable that you sent him, then and for him that's money right there because he don't have to go to the site now and do that. He knows what he needs is right in front of him. Just having the measurements and just having and then he can take those measurements and hand them to his guys and say, hey, look, we need to have this done on there, and here's the measurements of because sometimes they might need to drill somewhere and they need to know where things are at and instead of x-raying or instead of looking for things that are underground, they just before they have that information.
So they'll have they'll have historical kind of 3D models so they can go back and look where stuff is. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So like before concrete pour or something like that,
Yeah, but, cool. So with the how often did they have you go out there and do a 3D model of the whole site? Like how frequently did you do that?
Just depends on where they're at in the building. Some of them I was going out once a week.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I'm kind of, some of them I'm like every other week.
So it's pretty frequent then.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now for that, is this something that every construction company who's building anything should be using? And this is like the people that aren't are like just kind of out of the loop, or is it just kind of, or is it a little bit more like for specialized things?
I think that every of these construction companies should be using this information because, I mean, from what I've learned, and I'm actually going to I'm coming up pretty soon on one of the biggest companies we work with. We're going to do like a testimony video and get their testimony and how they used it and how it worked for them, how it saved them money. And, and we're going to use that as a marketing tool. But from what I understand, like the information we've given them, like it has saved them tens of thousands of dollars in the long run.
That's awesome.
Some of these guys used it as, they were drilling some of the concrete that we had done before they poured. And they said that they've never had a job where they didn't hit something. And this time that they had our deliverables that they didn't hit anything. And a lot of times when they hit something and they break something, it costs, $20,000, $30,000 to fix whatever they hit. And they didn't do that this time. So like that alone is just like amazing, like. Yeah.
And I guess they probably build some of that, like, have to fix it costs into their budgets when they do it the first time around. So if they can kind of grab some extra savings.
Yeah. They know they're going to screw up at some point. And And even with sometimes they don't build things on the right measurement of where it's supposed to be. That's why initially when you do a 3D model, like they use that initial ground flooring to measure too, because sometimes they might build a building a couple of feet off, and that's a huge, you know what I mean? Like they might find out after they put the whole foundation down, like, oh shit, this is not in the right spot. So
Yeah.
and I was oblivious, but I guess it happens pretty often. I mean, where things are placed at the wrong position, and it's because you got a bunch of guys down there reading these blueprints, and it just they may interpret it different ways, or I don't know. I don't know how it happens, but
It's lost in translation.
But with these models, they're able to take those measurements and it's almost spot on. I mean,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, every one of these construction companies should be doing this. I mean, it's just somewhere behind the times, and some are just not willing to step up with technology yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just depends. But like the one we're working with, these guys walking around with iPads and doing stuff like that. So I guess they're ahead of everybody else.
Kind of up on it. So if you don't mind me asking, I know you're in LA, so stuff's probably more expensive out there. But like, how much are you able to charge these construction companies or engineering firms for flying every other week and doing a 3D model?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure on the total cost of what we're charging them, because like I said, I'm working with someone else on this.
Oh, sure.
But I'm gonna say it's right around about $1,500 a flight.
A flight?
Yeah, because there's other people involved. Because we're not doing, we're not taking the data and just throwing it into Pix4D or something like that. It's actually, we're actually contracting another guy who has a desktop, and he does everything, manually. Gotcha. So we're getting a more accurate output. We're getting a lot better quality of an output than that you send it to the cloud on Pix4D.
So it's not just a quick like drone deploy or Pix4D flight and then send it off kind of thing.
So we're getting a much better quality output, and it's taking a little, it takes a little more time for the guy to do it, but that there's a cost there. So I mean,
yeah, sure.
So and then I make pretty good money doing it. It only takes me about 45 minutes to do a model, and then I'm walking out of there with like $300. So
awesome. So you're kind of just one piece of the wheel, and there's multiple people kind of helping put the final deliverable together.
Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah. So I mean, most of those guys on that site, the most that they make is like $50 or $60 an hour. Like the crane guy he might make $80 an hour, on overtime, but the drone guy, he's making $300 an hour.
That's pretty awesome. That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah, man. So you have these construction sites going on. What of all I mean, it sounds like you do a bunch of different stuff. Like I see on your Instagram, you're flying construction sites and you do video production, even just like normal video production stuff. I know you got like an Inspire. I saw you had some really cool shots with your Inspire kind of in the desert and stuff.
Yeah, we did some car chasing out there.
Yeah, that was cool.
And a music video. I was doing a music video out there. That was really cool. That Inspire, man, that camera just is killer. I mean, it gets some great.
It looked good. So what's your favorite what's your favorite type of thing to work on, since you're in kind of a lot of different industries doing a lot of different things? Like what's the most fun for you? What do you like doing the best?
I like the film stuff. I like being on set. It's just fun. Yeah. Like you're always around. I mean, I haven't done it in a while because of the COVID thing, but I mean, you're just hanging around. Everybody seems to be really nice and fun to hang out with. There's for a drone guy, there's a lot of waiting around, but it's like when the director's ready, he's like, he wants you to be up now. That's the only thing. Is that it could be a little stressful, but I mean, other than that, it's fun. I mean, I like it. The video I did was My Chemical Romance. It was
oh, cool.
It was a piece. It wasn't a music video, but it was a piece where they did I guess I want to say like a marketing commercial for their concerts in Europe.
Yeah.
And it was called An Offering. And I did the bird's eye with the Inspire too, and the guy's running through this forest type thing. But when I was there, I told the director, hey, I have an FPV drone and I can chase your guy through the woods and go through the bushes and stuff like that. And he's like, really? Let's try that. So we did a couple takes, and it was awesome, man. And he was the director was so ecstatic, man. He was just like, yes, yes. He was just like, I mean, he loved it, but the edit, it didn't make the cut in the edit. He didn't, of course, he didn't do the edit. So whoever was editing or whoever did it, like they cut it out, man. And they
Oh, that stinks.
yeah. So I was bummed. I was thinking like, finally, some of my FPV is gonna make it to something big, and it didn't.
Oh, bummer. Dude, I've actually seen a lot of really cool like FPV cinematography stuff starting to get more popular.
Getting people out there with their imagination, they're putting out some good stuff, man. It's
because
fun.
you can get some really insane perspectives and angles and stuff with doing the FPV.
It's fun to watch. And it's fun to fly FPV. I just love it, man.
Yeah, that's cool. So I don't know if you had, last time we talked, I don't know if maybe you did have the Inspire, but I feel like I feel like I would remember that. But either way, do you think for doing, so it sounds like you're doing like, you're doing cinematography work for, Amazon shows and like serious, bands and stuff like that. Do you think having that Inspire 2 has helped you get those jobs?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Anything less, I would be doing those.
Yeah.
And that's probably the lowest end right now that you could be working on those kind of jobs with. If you don't have an Inspire 2, they're not going to be hiring you for that job. Because and that's the reason I say the lowest, because I have the X5S, I don't have the X7.
Okay.
And so a lot of the higher budgets, they want the heavy lifters with the red or the RA on them. And then after that, they'll take an X7, no problem. But an X5S is like, oh, okay, But anything less than that, you're probably not going to be on that set.
So you think it's worth because those are pretty expensive to get those full setups, right?
Brand new, yes, but I picked mine up used, and you can get a used one for, I've seen them out there for like $3,000 the whole set.
How much did you get your whole setup for?
I paid $5,000 for mine, but it came with, literally everything: the box, the case. The like 10 sets of batteries.
Oh wow, cool.
Rechargers, like I had everything. The dual.
So you're ready to go straight out for.
Yeah. Cool. And then I was in Arizona, and get insurance on that thing, because if you spend it on the Inspire 2, you need the insurance, because accidents happen, man. And I had one. I was in Arizona. Man. We were shooting a pilot show for a boat racing show. It's supposed to be on one of these reality TVs, but it was a boat racing, the speedboats in Parker, and they're just these boats are going fast. It was so crazy. But anyways, I had a long lens on my Inspire, and I was flying around, and to be honest, I don't know if I hit something or if it just malfunctioned, because it said it was coming home, and then it just lost video and it was done. And when I found it, it was on the side of a cliff near the water. It didn't hit the water. I was lucky.
That's good.
But I'm so glad I had insurance, because they covered it.
Nice. Was there a deductible on it?
Yeah, I think it was like $500, but it was worth it.
Better than $5,000.
Yeah, it was. They saved my butt, and I did lose a couple of jobs over it because I didn't have the drone. But it took me a couple weeks to get it replaced, and then I was good to go. But
yeah, that's good. Who are you using?
Money on your stuff. You need the insurance.
Yeah. Who are you using for insurance?
What's the name of it's probably the one that's the most popular. I can't think of it right now.
Skywatch?
No, it's an actual aviation insurance.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember.
Well, if you remember it, we'll throw it in there just in case people are curious. Well, that's cool. So you've got these film jobs, got the construction stuff. What percentage of your work would you say is like construction versus video production versus kind of like just other random stuff?
I'd say construction's about 40, and then maybe like, I don't know, maybe like 40 of cinema stuff, and then like maybe 20 of
20% just other stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, well, that's a pretty good mix, I feel like.
Yeah, because after a while, I just, I have I'm one of those gear freaks that buy stuff all the time, and so I got the A7 S3 coming, and I have other A7R3 and the A7 III, and I just have all these cameras, and so I've been doing stuff like so the rock quarry that I worked for, they say, hey, you do video too, right? We're doing a rebrand, and we need some interview videos and some B-roll and stuff. So I went and shot for them, and I just, set up a whole interview setup and did the audio
Cool.
and everything.
Awesome.
So so it's kind of like evolving to just all around, like almost like just a small production company. I mean, I'm not just doing drones.
Yeah.
That's the way I like it. I like it. I mean, I love the drones, but I like doing it kind of.
Well, I mean, it seems it's a pretty transferable skill set, because once you learn how to operate the camera on a drone, it's just a camera that's not flying around. You know what I mean? All year. So
exactly. It's the only difference is you got to learn lighting, because if you're lighting up a person, it needs to be right to look good and look professional.
Yeah, sure. Was that a challenge? Kind of trying to figure that out?
Well, I like I said, when I was younger, I was a photographer, so
okay.
As a hobby, so like lighting is not, it's different for video a little, but yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of a challenge, but you learn.
Yeah. You figured it out. I feel like changing gears a little bit. I feel like I could be totally making this up. I feel like I saw you did some drone filming for someone's engagement, where there was like a ton of different drones, and then like somebody dropped a ring down from a drone.
That's right. So drone gear, Alex.
Yeah.
You know him.
Yeah.
He was gonna propose to his girl, and he gave me a call up and a few other friends and said, hey, I want to do a big thing for my girl. I want to propose to her. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah, dude, I'd love to help you out. So I met with him a couple of times, and we tested out. I flew the Phantom, and we had the ring attached to it, and he had a little mechanism where you can push a button and it would drop. And so,
cool.
Yeah. So I mean, we had, I think.
So you were carrying the ring on yours?
Yeah. So nice. I think there was like 7 or 8 pilots, and it was fun, dude. He got an Airbnb right down the beach, and there was a balcony, so there was like 7 guys with drones up there, and I think there was like 4 Inspire 2s,
wow,
1 Magic, and then I had the Phantom with the rings, and so everybody was kind of positioned around, and everybody's getting footage, and then I come in, and they had a red on the ground, guy with the gimbal and the stabilizer, and he had a red camera, and so I flew in, dropped the ring, and then he did his proposal, and then I flew off, and then the Inspires kind of did like a flyby, all 4 of them cruising together. Did a flyby. It was pretty cool. It was fun.
That's awesome. It's I'm just having this like visualization of like the Blue Hornets or something, or like the Thunderbirds,
Exactly. It was fun.
Blue Angels, yeah.
It was a great little video. He put a video out. It's on YouTube. I mean, you could probably just look up drone gear, and it'll probably come up.
I'll try to see if we can find it and post a link to it, and see if we can get you dropping the ring down.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. It's good to know that a lot of the guys out there in the community, the drone community, they're friendly guys. They want to help and teach, and Alex is a great guy. He started drone gear years back, and he did a lot of tutorials and that type of stuff, and he helps the drone community, but he's just a good guy. So of course I was going to say yes. I wasn't going to say no to him.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I followed his Instagram for a while, and we've chatted back and forth a little bit. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, as you've gone, I'm just curious now, since this is like our second episode, is there anything, I guess, from when we talked maybe 2 years ago, like what would you say maybe in the past year or so have you learned that's like new in the drone world? Or are you like, or is it just getting better at the stuff you already know how to do? Or do you feel like you've really kind of like honed any specific skills? Maybe people that are listening that, maybe they're maybe a year or so into their drone business, and they're just trying to figure out the best way to direct their focus or attention. Like what advice maybe do you have for them? What have you learned?
I think the biggest thing to give as advice is that, now that I have, I don't know what I'd say, like 8 or 9 years of drone flying under my belt, I've had more crashes in the last couple of years than ever. And that's because I think I got a little complacent with my flying, and I'm thinking like I got this, and And I think I need to get back to the basics and just be a little more aware. And it's not that I'm not safe, because I'm always safe. It's just that when I'm flying, like I, I just kind of think I got this, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to call it cockiness, because I'm not whatsoever, but I got a little loose, with my
Yeah.
flying. And a couple of weeks ago, I was flying the Mavic 2, and I was doing an orbit of the construction site, because these guys like to see a video of their site. So I do a quick little orbit.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing this site for, I want to say 2.5 years now. And
Wow.
never had a problem, never went down once. And I just was flying it thinking like I'm good. And I must have went off my track just a little bit, and I hit a building. Because I
Oh,
was going to
really?
orbit. I was going in an orbit, so I couldn't see the side of me, of course, right? And
Yeah.
my sensors didn't. It just hit the building, man. And it's just one of those things where, like, it should just been a little more careful than just being so relaxed,
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Well, I feel like in a scenario like that too, where you've done it so many times, you might just kind of get on autopilot and not really be thinking it through as carefully as you would if it was like your first time out there,
Yeah, you're right. But I shouldn't have been so lax.
Yeah.
I flew the site again 2 weeks later, and man, I was back to like
Yeah.
time again. I was scared, I was nervous and like flying, but just practice, get good, but don't ever like ease up and lax. Always take your precautions and always look. And it just, I mean,
Yep.
I know things happen. They say you're going to crash, but that
Doesn't feel
didn't
good.
have to happen. It didn't have to
Yeah.
happen. So
That makes me think of something else. Like when you're flying for these construction sites, do they require you to have any like amount of insurance, or do they ever get into you about that?
Yeah, you got to have insurance, and a lot of times it's at least 2 million. It could be up to 5 million.
Hmm.
Um,
Do
on
they
the
usually spell that
liability
out
side.
for you?
Yeah, so I just get them on a insurance add-on or whatever, and I just put their name on
Mm.
it and send it to them, and I'm good. But yeah, you definitely need to be insured. These construction sites, it's no joke.
Yeah.
That's a part of their whole contracting and everything. That they are no joke. It's like everything's safety with them. Everything's safety.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, they're doing, they're around stuff that can kill them basically every day. So, got to be super careful.
when someone gets hurt, I mean, it costs them a lot of money. So
True. Yeah. Like really expensive workers' comp, and, they got to pay the person while they're off. Yeah. It gets.
not only that, then it brings in like all the like OSHA and all that stuff, and they start. Someone gets hurt, it's just all downhill. It's the whole thing.
They don't want any of it. Yeah.
So they preach like safety all day long. It's crazy. Like they even make you watch videos before you go on the site as a contractor. Like it's just crazy. Like it's just they're. I mean, and I understand why. I mean, it's just. And then it rolls downhill. So if someone's in charge, and everybody's getting busted after that because they weren't doing what they were supposed to. Someone should have been watching out or something. There should have been a safety strap or something. I mean, it just.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, we were doing some research for something one time, and I was looking through some OSHA reports. I think it was we had some roofing course, and we were doing some research, and I was just looking at all the OSHA reports where someone got hurt by falling off a roof or a ladder getting up on roof. And man, there were some terrible stories. Even just like recently, people just, like they forget to tie off and they walk through a skylight and fall like 50 feet, die. Just crazy stuff. All of them. It was just like story after story after story. They were brutal to read.
I did a video for roof, like my own video, and I posted on my YouTube. It was just like a how statistics about how people get hurt on roofs, and because I was trying to market some roofing inspections and stuff like that. So I've done a few of those, but it hasn't caught on too much. I mean,
not as many.
I think, and I see more of the inspections going on in other states than here in California. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, I know that I have a friend and a couple other people. I was actually talking to a guy that was in one of our courses yesterday, and kind of the hurricane that just came through Louisiana, he got hired by an insurance company to go. He said he drove over 2,000 miles driving around, documenting schools, like the condition of school roofs. And so he's taking pictures and tagging them, and then they're having roofers look at them so they can figure out which ones they need to go address. So those guys get a lot of business when big storms come through, and like roofers don't have time to literally get up on just every roof. So you can scan real fast and they can figure out where they need to get attention.
That makes sense. Probably so where there's more weather, then I'd probably get more roofing things. I did a church here in LA. It was like a big, and the only reason why they didn't want someone to get on it was because it was peak. It was so high peak that you can't really walk the roof. So I did a roof inspection, and
Cool.
Other than that, I mean, I guess they just let people get on roofs around here. And,
yeah. Well,
and probably don't get as bad around here as they do back east because of the weather and stuff.
Well, and some people are just, some people are just old school and I just want to get up there and look at it. You know what I mean? So you have that. I am curious, we're getting a little bit later on time, but I'm curious now that you've been doing drones for, drone business, for several years, right? And you've got clients coming in, like what's changed from like getting business perspective from when you're first doing it now? Do you have to look, are you actively searching for any business or it just all comes to you?
I want to get better at looking, but I all my work lately has been just coming to me. The only thing I do is I do the Google ads, and I don't even spend that much. I spend like $50 to $100 depending on how I feel for the month, and it just to click ads or whatever, and I don't even get that many hits because I always ask people where did you get my number from, and it's not even that many I get from Google. A lot of it's just referral too.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it's just coming. I mean, it's one of those things. If you just, as far as the referrals, as long as you do good work and, you're good at what you do, they're going to call you back, they're going to pass your number to someone else and say, hey, just at this point in time, I've done so much stuff that, when they ask like, who did that? Who's the drone? Oh, it's this guy right here. And they'll call me up. Hey, so-and-so said he did the drone for them. I have a project. Okay. So, for the people who are new, I don't get discouraged. I mean, it's not going to, what it comes down to is that you're really just running a business, and to run a business, you don't happen overnight. I mean, that's why, most people say businesses fail within 5 years because you got to like actively work on your business to grow it. You can't just, expect that overnight you're going to tell everybody you have a drone business and all of a sudden you're going to get all this work. It just doesn't happen that way. It just doesn't happen for anybody that way. I mean, you just, even if you open up a restaurant, you got to drum up business. You got to, people got to refer and say, man, that place has good food. And you just got to, I would learn your drone, but I would learn the business end of things too. Go out and, watch some stuff on YouTube about businesses or take some classes on business and just learn how to, because that's what's going to keep you on board, not just flying a drone. That's not enough. And there's so many drone pilots out there that you gotta learn how to be a good business owner, good customer service, and make those relationships. I remember the last time we spoke about the relationships. That's still the case. You got to go out there and build the relationships with people and network with people and talk to people and be likable. And then, business comes.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it on the head, because there's so many people that, and I'm sure we talked about this last time, but they get their Part 107 and they're like, where's all my jobs? And they don't realize that it's not at all. And then when people do realize that, like you're saying, where it's relationships and you have to kind of spend time starting to get the work, and it's kind of just an exponential thing from there. It's hard because that takes time, right? You put in a lot of effort with a little result. And so you got to have like a lot of perseverance in those first, especially those first couple months, where you're not really getting a whole lot of results for what you're doing. But then, I think you're a great example of how like you keep doing it and then it takes off. And then, like you said, you don't even really have to look much for work right now. Most of it's coming in.
And like I said, the real estate stuff, it just, with that, it's I know it's a bottom feeding, but you learn, you might have to do some free jobs here and there to get the people to know your services and to know your work. But it's just, you got to start somewhere and you got to build it. And you don't go to a company, get hired on and you're the president, you got to work your head. And it's the same thing with the business. You don't open a business and all of a sudden you're the number one in the state or the country. You just got to work at it. You got to build it up. and learn that strategy you're going to use to build your business.
Yeah, man. I love it. I think that's fantastic advice. And I think,
Yeah.
it's something I always want to tell people, because you get people that get discouraged when they're trying to start, and you're like, well, you gotta have the right expectations going in. Like, it takes work, and you got to keep going at it, and it'll hit. I think people just need to realize, like, hey, listen, if other people can do this and it works for them, like, it'll work for me too if I just keep doing the same types of things.
Yeah, it's a marathon. It's not a race. You just got to get on board and just keep on, chugging at it, because it's not an overnight get rich kind of thing. And I don't even know if a drone business can make you super rich.
Right.
But to be successful, at least you got to keep working at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. Awesome. Well, I think that's a good place to end it. Some nice sage wisdom from a seasoned drone business operator. So, well, I appreciate you coming on and giving us the update, Alex. And it's cool to hear kind of what you're doing, and glad to hear everything's going well. And it's fun to get some more stories. So, I'll let you know when this podcast comes out. And I know we had a lot of people reach out to you, or a lot of people ended up reaching out to you last time after the podcast was over. So you're a super nice guy, and everybody that has told me that they've reached out to you is like, oh yeah, he's super nice, willing to help. So, if people want to see your stuff or get a hold of you, I guess, what's the best way to do that? Your Instagram? Or
Instagram is the best way. I mean, it's LA Aerial Image, and I'm I'm one of those guys always on Instagram. So,
I was gonna say, I feel like every time I've messaged you on Instagram, it's like you're like boom, right on it to reply.
Yeah, I'm guilty, man. I get on Instagram a lot. It's just I like seeing everybody's work. I like seeing everything that's going on, and
well, you post good stuff on there. I enjoy following you.
I try to post as much as I can, but it gets busy. It gets busy, and sometimes I'm doing a job and I'm walking off the job and I'm getting in my car and I'm like, damn, I forgot to post or to snap or something. It gets busy. So
well, at least you're staying focused on the job at that point. So
yeah, I mean, this is like a before, something, and then after maybe, but I can't keep up. It's just too. I like to, but I can't. It's just not.
Yeah. No, cool, man.
But yeah, so if they reach out to me on Instagram, I'm happy to answer questions. Help out. I think that with this drone stuff, there's enough work for everybody. There's no reason to be greedy and not help people, because there's a lot of work out there. I mean, and I'm confident that I'm good enough and I'm likable enough to keep getting my job. So I'm not worried about. Yeah, I'm not worried about help you guys out. No problem. Hit me up, and we'll talk.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate you coming on. It's good. It's good catching up and hearing from you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that podcast episode with Alex. Really appreciate all of you listening. If you're watching this or seeing this, that means you made it all the way to the end. So really appreciate you sticking with us all the way through it. Means a lot for everyone that's been dedicated to listening or watching the podcast. Really love that people are getting into this and that they're getting a lot out of the podcast. So we love hearing from you. Feel free to shoot me an email, david@dronelaunchacademy.com. If there's anything you need or any ideas you have, feel free to hit me up, and I'll do my best to get back to you. I do read all the emails that come through. So just a reminder, if you want to get entered to win some free stuff, this week you have 7 days from when this podcast episode goes live to get in on that quiz, the one question quiz where you can win some prizes. So get in there, jump on our email list if you're not already on there. Again, just go to dronelaunchacademy.com. We always send out some good info and goodies, things like that. So jump there. Appreciate you guys again. I'll keep it short and sweet today, but tune in next week for our next episode. Also, if you know of anyone that you think would be a good guest for the podcast, feel free to send them to me. I've already said my email like a billion times in this episode, but shoot it to me. Or if you want to be on the podcast, basically our only criteria is that you're making at least $1,000 a month with your drone. So that way we can include people who are doing it part-time while they're still working other jobs, and people who are doing it full-time. We have some people coming up later this season that are making $300K plus with a drone. And then we have some people who have barely kind of crossed over that 1K mark per month. Not 300K a month, 300K a year is the other people. And then others who are kind of crossing that 1K a month mark, so kind of the low 5 figures per year that are kind of just getting started and doing on the side. So we like to have a nice variety so that you can relate to different people and hear some experiences from more successful and people who have been doing it maybe for several years. So if you know of anyone or that's you and you want to get on the podcast, let me know. We're always looking for new guests and continuing to talk to people who are having success in this area and who love drones. So thanks again for everything. Take care, everyone. See you next week.